Mornings with Will on 531 VI.
Aotearoa talo whātu I le mamalu o le tātou atunuu. Welcome back to Pacific Mornings. It's John Pulu here, sitting in for William Terite. And right now is a familiar person to our polokalama. Very good morning to you, Anae Arthur Anae.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity of being here.
Malo for, and of course, Anae Arthur Anae is a former National Party MP, is leading a campaign calling for a visa-free travel to Aotearoa New Zealand for Pacific peoples, and he's also behind a new documentary on the Samoa Citizenship Act. And while we have him here in the studio, we're also going to ask you about the budget, which is the big talk of today. But whamole mole la whionga, maybe let's start with just to outline again what you're seeking in terms of the visa-free travel from the Pacific to Aotearoa New Zealand.
Okay, thank you. Look, people get this wrong, but it's not visa-free. What I'm asking for is our people of the Pacific, all the Pacific, it's the Forum Nations, on arrival in New Zealand, they are issued a 3-month visitor's visa, stamped at the passport in Auckland on arrival. No longer have to make applications. We're throwing that rubbish out. 60 countries of the world get this privilege. 60 countries. Some who've done nothing for us, this country. We have contributed so much to New Zealand since we've started coming here. In the early days, in the factories and everything else. And there is nothing in this country that a Pacific person has not achieved. Nothing. We've taken New Zealand to centre stage of the world in many things.
Yes.
We've gone in the political arena and won. You name it, we've done it. So it's about time they change their damn minds now and realise the days are over of treating the Pacific people this way. It is over. The world is changing very, very fast.
Why haven't they done it, do you think, Anae?
Look, they just sit there and procrastinate on this thing. They're fearful, okay? This is my argument. First of all, they have accused us of overstaying. That is their common cause, overstaying. Well, the reality was this. In the 70s, when they had the dawn raids, 25% were our people, and we were targeted. We were ripped out of our beds in the middle of the night by police with dogs. We were stopped in the streets and asked to prove who we were. They went in the factories and pulled our people out. They did not touch or raise one finger to the 75% of others who were overstayers in this country. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? And we are still being treated the same particular way. So my answer to them is this. Overstaying has been the creation of New Zealand immigration themselves. They created it. Why? If you make it difficult for people to come, they're going to stay as long as they can, because there's no guarantee when they go back they're going to come again tomorrow. So my answer to them is this, and what I'm pushing on this thing, right? First of all, we want our people to get a visa stamped at the airport on arrival. Secondly, any Pacific person who breaks the rule by overstaying without an application for extension will be deported and not allowed back for 10 years. I'm not going to let one individual ruin it for everybody. And we have to be very firm on that. The second thing with this is that if a person is 3 months is over and they leave, they can fly to Sydney in the morning or to Fiji and come straight back that afternoon and get another stamp. Why should you overstay? And that's my argument. And there's no reason for them to continue with this thing of saying all these half measures. As you know, the minister came out with a half measure to be introduced in July. I have objected to it. I've said this is a waste of time. It's just another half measure. Let's just go all the way and treat us equally as per the 60 other countries of the world.
Now, Baron Wanga, the Secretary General of the Pacific Islands Forum, has also expressed his support for the concept of freer movement within the Pacific region. What is the mood like? Have you had a chance to speak to other countries? Do they support?
Absolutely, Look, I've met with our High Commissioners in Wellington from the Pacific. Everybody's 100% behind it. Not one person is saying this is crazy. Everybody has said enough is enough. It is time to go. And I'm going to have a meeting with Baron.
Yes, yes, he's travelling here soon.
Yes, he is.
Wellington.
Yeah, because the strength of this argument is a total unity of Pacific nations to jointly tell New Zealand enough is enough. Treat us with this dignity and the respect we are due. No, my gut feeling tells me it doesn't matter what they say. Eventually, they're going to have this way. And I've got to say this, as I said earlier on, that we don't have one Pacific voice in the government as it stands today. And the strongest voice we have in there for everything we try to do is Winston. You know, Winston has done a huge job for our Pacific people. He stood behind everything I've done and tried to. He backed us all the way with the citizenship issue. I mean, the strength I had on the citizenship issue was I knew that David Seymour had said to me, Arthur, this is wrong. We've got to get it past the first reading. And Winston was the same thing. So when that first reading came and they stood behind us, hallelujah, at least we're going where we want to go, right? And that was to the select committee process to hear the voices of our people. 25,000 submissions. And when you get the national people and members of the committee themselves in tears realising so much wrong had been done, we got an answer. But the beautiful thing about that situation, I was able to hammer them on what they were doing to us in Samoa. I don't think you realise what was going on at the time. The Samoa Immigration Office, the New Zealand Immigration Office in Samoa, was open for 1 hour a day. What an insult. How do people in a village or anywhere get there to do with 1 hour? They say do it on the internet. Well, crap, because who can do that today, even in New Zealand? So the result of that, the select committee themselves took this to immigration and said, this is absolutely wrong, you've got to fix it. And so I was thrilled at the second reading to hear they had changed and opened up 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That was a brilliant result.
Let's stay with the Citizenship Western Samoa Restoration Amendment Act 2024, which was passed. And now I think it's been about maybe 6 months now since that historic move. Have you heard how it's going? Many Samoans taking the opportunity for their New Zealand citizenship?
Absolutely. It's rocking along. People have all capitalised on it. The problem that I have is two things, and I'm still pursuing this. First of all, the Privy Council decisions made a comment that women married to somebody born in this period have the same entitlement. And I asked the question at the Select Committee, what about men? They forgot about them because they're the same. So the argument today is that New Zealand has to relook at this and say that this group, men and women married to someone born between 24 and the 1st of January 49, have equal rights and they should be accepted. And they're not at this point in time. I've got a lawyer now who specialises in this, who's doing the work for me. And I've said to him, if they reject this, we're going all the way through the courts again. I'm determined because they are wrong. Absolutely wrong. I mean, how can you differentiate? You really can't, right? That's point one. Point two, when my submission was made, I said, because they denied and deprived our people in 82 from their rights, they should be paying those people, as long as they reside in Samoa, 50% of the New Zealand pension. They rejected that. And they're saying these people, and the youngest is now 77, has to come and spend 10 years here before they can get their pension. Well, you know, if you use half a brain, you get an answer. And the answer is, if they come here, they have entitlement to hospitalisation, to this, to that, to everything else, emergency benefits. Well, all that will cost more than 50% of the benefit being paid, of their pension being paid them in New Zealand, in Samoa. Right? It is simple ABC maths. What else can I say? Wake up and do the maths and you might understand what I'm trying to say. So that's the argument that I'm continuing on. Even though people criticise me and say, why aren't you happy you got a result? Well, I said I don't eat crumbs. I want the whole meal. And the whole meal is getting these things through. So that's the remaining things to be done as far as the Samoan citizenship issue is concerned.
Yeah, mahalo pito for the update. You're actually making a documentary about the journey from the 1982 Citizenship Act to the recent restoration citizenship rights for Samoans. Can you give us an update on where the documentary is at?
Yes, we've done all the. We went to Samoa early on and did a lot of filming. We've done a huge amount of films. I think we did 120 hours of filming, which has got to be brought down about 90-minute documentary. Right. So it's a huge work that's going on now to get this through. I can't give you a finished time on that. They're working on it in the States. But it was done because we needed to educate everybody of the journey that we've gone through. 42 years in the wilderness. The Samoan people were left there by the national government at the time, backed by the opposition. And the case that I argue is this. If it's all right for a government to disobey the highest court's ruling, what does that say for us? Can I go out and do what I want to do? Because that's what they treated to us. They just took the ruling from the highest court, the Privy Council, and threw it and said, oh, we don't accept it. And the sad thing about that whole journey was they summoned Ba'ai to Wellington. And Ba'ai had told them directly, we accept the ruling of the Privy Council. They rejected it. And as you know, the Samoan people blamed Ba'ai at the time, saying he'd sold out on them. It's not true. It's taken a long time for this message to come out, and I want people to understand that. So for me, it's unforgiving that we could be treated this way, especially when your highest court ruled. Now let's face it, the Whalemale Ma'ilekasa case, which started all this, she was going to be deported as an overstayer. She engaged the services of Dr. Barton and George Rosenberg, who said this is wrong. They did some in-depth research and proved that the Samoan people in fact were British subjects and automatically became New Zealanders on the 1st of January 49. And they rejected all that. So personally, I'm thrilled that the journey, we got an answer. When we get the rest of it, we can sing hallelujah. And we can say justice had been done for us Samoans. But what about the rest of my brothers and sisters of the Pacific? That's what the fight for the visa issue is now.
Yeah. Well, we're looking out for when that is released, the documentary. I'm just mindful of our time. What's your take on the budget 2025 in terms of the announcements that's been made so far? Do you think Nicola Willis's budget is going to do enough to help our Pacifica communities?
Look, that's a hard one to say. First of all, if you analyse what this government has tried to do, they came into power with a massive hole to fill. A massive hole. And so they've tried to adjust everything to try to bring the country's economic operations back online. And to do that, there is pain. It's like anything. There is no gain without pain, and that pain has been spreading. And people who don't understand the economics of what you've got to do will always make issues of this, right? But all of us know that in your household, when something goes wrong, or your wife loses a job, or you lose a job, what do? You readjust to survive, right? And that's what needs to happen. Like I was saying to banks, because people were panicking about their mortgages with the interest rates going up. And I said, quite frankly, my thinking is this. The bank holds the power. Why should the bank foreclose on a mortgage? Simple thing is, extend the term of the mortgage, keep the payment the same, nobody loses. So this type of thinking is going on. But I haven't actually heard anything specifically for us as yet. I'm not expecting anything specific because we're all part of New Zealand, right? That's the thing. All I'm asking for is the things that I want to see done for our people, per se, as per the visa, etc.
Yeah. It's going to be announced very soon with the government's plans, but they're putting in billions into health, education, as well as infrastructure. What are your thoughts around the targeted areas for Pacifica communities that we can, gain from or benefit from?
I sincerely hope that there's a new take as far as health's concerned. As you know, I sat on the health board for 12 years. And every year they would come in and say, cut the budget, cut the budget, cut the budget. You explain this. How do you cut a budget when the population is growing and expanding and the needs are greater? And you say cut the budget. And that's why we have serious problems in health now. So I'm hoping that they will find enough to put in the budget to improve the health needs of all New Zealanders, right? Because that's very important to us. There are other issues I took up with the National Party 40 years ago they didn't want to hear it at the time. But today they have to look at it seriously, I think, once soon. Because, this, in simple terms, I'll tell you this much. I was advocating that we should have tax-deductible health insurance and tax-deductible superannuation. And the reason was simply this. If you're working and you can go to a hospital, you go to a private hospital. The main public hospitals, in my opinion, are for the young, the elderly, and the infirm. And today, if you know anything about health insurance, the minute you turn 65, it goes up like to the roof. It goes to the rocket, And who can afford it then? I can tell you now, 50% of my pension goes paying for it, right? And so if the confidence that people at 65 want is to know when they're ill, they can go straight to the hospital. There's no waiting lists, as we have today. They're fixable, but our mindset has to change. Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Anae, just to wrap up Aotearoa? We've covered what you're calling for the government as well as the budget. Any final thoughts just to wrap up,
Not on the budget, but one thing I just wanted to talk about affordability of pension. I'm just formulating something to put to the government because we passed this in 99 in my time.
Yes.
But this requirement of having to come back and spend 5 years over a period of time is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense because of this reason. When a person comes back here at age 60 and no job, he's a New Zealander. He can claim the benefits. He can go to hospital. He can hang all these costs on the New Zealand government, which they don't need right now. If they just give them their pension where they are and accept it, there's no further cost. It's these little issues where if you really want to talk about the economic level and how you'd adjust it, look at these issues, which don't need to happen. They don't need to happen. It's a mindset that says, yep, he's right, just do it. And so with all that, I'm hoping that the future for Pacific people in this country is that people going into government today are realizing we are living in a new world. In a new world where equality amongst people. And we are the Pacific. New Zealand is part of the Pacific. New Zealand is home to most of our people. Why do they keep on treating us this way? And so I'm taking this opportunity this morning to say our communities out there, sign the petition, get behind what we're doing. This is for the benefit of all of us, not for one person, for all of us. And all our Pacific brothers and sisters need to be treated equally, and God help us with this one.
Whaftaite lava for your time with this morning, Anae. Now bringing his trademark straight talk and no mucking around this morning. Now that's the no BS that we were talking about with Nicola Willis. This is it. You're just not mucking around this morning. Aloha pito for your time, Anae. Now if you've missed it, you can watch the full interview on 531PI's Facebook